I was a female stand-up comedian, not a male stand-up comedian, despite the fact that many people think I could have been a man because of my voice. So I thought I was going for a 70s supermodel, but do I look like a genie? Be honest. I was just on the edge, right? On the edge. Right? Like water, this, just 900 notes. A little nervous. It's okay. This has been amazing, right? And emotional. Very emotional, right? I had like a total meltdown last night, crying. But here I am, and I'm supposed to be like, beacon of recovery, so let's talk about that. So, I am Amy Dresner. I'm a drug addict, and I'm an alcoholic, and I'm a sex addict, and a love addict, and a nicotine addict, and a caffeine addict, and a nap addict. I also wrote a memoir called My Fair Junkie, and I know you're not supposed to say junkie or addict anymore. The correct PC term is substance use disorder. But I just didn't think that My Fair Girl with substance use disorder was gonna fly off the shelves, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't think anybody has the right to tell you how to tell your own story. Oh, well, junkie and addicts are irreverent. I got news for you. Addiction's irreverent. So, I grew up a spoiled brat in Beverly Hills, and now I'm back here. Great. I went to school with all the celeb kids while my dad wrote schlocky sitcoms, and my mom was off in Mexico weaving rugs. So, my dad made a bet with me. He said, Ames, I'm gonna make a bet with you. I bet you'll smoke or drink or do drugs before you're 18. And I said, I bet I won't. He said, I'll bet you $1,000. And that's how Jews raise each other. We just bribe each other. It worked. I waited till I was 19 till I drank. So, 19 I drank, and I had my first nervous breakdown. I've had 4 nervous breakdowns. It's like a hobby of mine at this point, really. I like to have one every decade, keeps things interesting, keeps people on their toes. I've suffered from depression from as long as I can remember, and I've been on the merry-go-round and round and round, Prozac, Effexor, Provigil, lithium, Zyprexa, Paxil, you name it. At 24, I stumbled on methamphetamine, and I was like, I don't care if this stuff is made with gun bluing and Drano. I've never felt better in my life. Like, hello. Prozac with wings, come on. So, any tweakers here? That's right. I was a crafty tweaker, like collaging, a lot of collaging, refinishing furniture at 4 in the morning, dumpster diving, plucking my eyebrows for 9 straight hours, right? I stayed up for 17 days once, and I wrote a new Bible based on Emerson and Nietzsche. So, I thought I had the mathematical equation for God. So I was doing really productive stuff, is what I'm telling you guys, okay? Anyway, one night I walked into a market, and I woke up in an ambulance, and I'd had a grand mal seizure. And the EMT said to me, ma'am, did you do any drugs tonight? And I said, obviously some really shitty ones, because here I am. So I had about 12 more grand mal seizures, and then I was diagnosed with epilepsy from crystal meth. Woo! But I still have all my teeth, you guys, and that's what matters. It's LA. I know that She Recovers is not just for people recovering from addiction. It's also for people recovering from eating disorders and mental illness and trauma and cutting and sexual abuse and people recovering from recovery meetings, right? So, I've had all that too, so I got all you ladies covered. Don't worry about it. You know, in my addiction, I did everything I swore I'd never do, right? That's the nature of addiction, right? I had sex with strangers in the back of my car. They were like 20 and like 20 years old, like half my age, and probably 20 of them as well. I mean, it was a Volkswagen with leather seats and a sunroof. It's not that embarrassing, I guess. It could have been a trashier car, but I drove drunk. I drank Four Locos. Do you guys know what Four Locos are? Oh, well, if you go into any nice establishment like a 7-Eleven or a gas station, classy joints, it is a premium malt liquor that is 12% alcohol, and it's the equivalent to 5 beers and 4 cups of coffee. Yeah. The big thing I never thought I'd do is intravenous drug use, and I did go there. I shot cocaine. I just want to give you in my defense, I'm going to explain my thinking around when I started shooting drugs. Well, my nose was bleeding, so I just couldn't get any more cocaine up there, pretty much. And I really thought, well, you know what? I think that shooting up is like an efficiency thing. Like if you had to go to Uruguay, think about it. You're going to Uruguay. Would you take a rickshaw or a rocket? Let's get to where the fuck we're going, you know what I mean? I want to give you a window into my insanity. I'm shooting cocaine, and at this point, I have epilepsy, and you can have a seizure shooting cocaine even if you don't have epilepsy, right, Mac? Where's Mac? I think Mackenzie will, right, Mac? That's true, right? Yeah, Mac will back me up on that. So it's super. When you have epilepsy, man, shooting coke and having a seizure is like a sure shot. So I shot coke, and I would have a seizure, and I'd shoot coke and have a seizure, and then I had a moment of clarity. And I was like, shooting coke is a high-impact sport, you guys. I need to wear protective gear. So I started shooting cocaine in a bike helmet. Hey, it made sense at the time. Judge away. It made sense at the time. I have a very impressive resume, 6 rehabs, 4 psych wards, 3 suicide attempts, obviously unsuccessful. Looking for a nice husband, so if any of you ladies know someone. Psych wards. Psych wards are interesting, aren't they? It's like, let's take someone who's incredibly depressed and put them in the most depressing place on the planet with no windows and terrible food and people that think they're Thomas Jefferson, you know? I mean, when you're in a green gown, everything you say sounds crazy. I was like, they told me this was a spa. That's why I brought my bathing suit. I'm afraid that my cat's not eating. Did he tell you that? I could not, I was a chronic relapser for 20 years. And I could not stay sober, and I could not get out of my own way. And I had this idea that I was broken and that people should take care of me. I lived off a trust fund, and when that was gone, I married a rich guy. I do not suggest that. I thought he could fix me, and he was going to take care of me, and I didn't think I could take care of myself, and I didn't want to, because I was crippled, and I was broken, and I was special. And all that came crashing down on December 25th of 2011, when, high off my face on Oxycontin, I pulled a knife on that rich guy. And he called the cops, and I got arrested for felony domestic violence with a deadly weapon. And I went to jail. Boy, my parents were proud. I remember when the sheriffs were handcuffing me, and they began to read me my rights, and I slurred, "Law and Order is my favorite show. Like, I know the drill, you guys." I vaguely remember calling an old sponsee from West Hollywood jail, and she'd become a bail bondswoman. And she was like, "Oh my God, Merry Christmas, my old sponsor, Amy. How are you?" hi, I'm in jail. So I lost everything, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me, truly. I believe you meet your destiny on the road you go to avoid it, you know, and I didn't want to take care of myself. The universe was like, really? You don't want to take care of yourself, huh? Okay. I was given a year of domestic violence counseling and 240 hours of community labor. That's not community service, you guys. That's not sitting on your ass folding shirts then out of the closet, okay? This is community labor. This is sweeping trash on the streets on a chain gang. So I remember the first day I showed up for community labor, and I was like, oh my God. It's like, oh my God, these people are criminals. Like, I'm a Jewish American princess from Beverly Hills, you know? And it was like 40 Mexican guys and me. And they were like, what you here for, Weta? Huh? I'm here for a DUI. And I was like, oh, I'm here for felony domestic violence with a deadly weapon? They were like, oh shit, nobody screwed with me. I was one of the only people there for violent assault, and I had more time assigned to me by the court than anyone else. Hi, humility. So they handed me a broom, and they said, you've swept before, right? And I said, well, I've swept privately. I've never swept publicly. I'm more of a private sweeper, like the Tina Turner song, you know? So not amused by me, ever. But instead of being ashamed of my new time on the chain gang, I started documenting it on Facebook. And I would I would share pics of stuff I saw on the street and like poignant moments and weird things that I learned. And that's how I deal with my shame. I flip it. I own it completely and just show everyone. And then no one has anything on you, you know? And people loved it and they laughed. Thank you. What are people gonna say? I heard you tried to stab your ex-husband. It's like, yeah, I wrote a book about it. What else you got? You know? Next. So I was, it was, I wasn't proud of what I'd done, but I couldn't change it, and I decided not to be ashamed of it, and I owned it. And when I finished my community labor, people were like, get arrested again, that was hilarious! I remember there was a semi-celeb, the only other girl on there, and she was on a reality show, and she was, I found her tweet for the day, and she said, just finished hiking for 8 hours with underprivileged children. Really? Is that what you'd call it? So it was 8 hours sweeping trash in the hot sun, and I felt really sorry for myself in the beginning. I was like, poor me, I'm a victim. You know, I'm cursed. Why is this happening to me? And then I had an epiphany, and I was like, this can be the best thing that ever happened to me, or this can be the worst thing that ever happened to me, and it's my choice. You know? I was like, Amy, this is the consequences of your decisions, all your actions. Maybe there's lessons here. Maybe there's gifts here. You know, get a suntan, get some good biceps, humility, work ethic, learn teamwork. So, you know, I mean, I can sweep, God, if any of you guys want me to come sweep your porch, I am good. I am really good. So, Will Rogers said, you know, the worst thing that happens to you can be the best thing for you if you don't let it get the best of you. And that's the second thing in my book. And the first thing is, this book is dedicated to anybody who thinks it's too late. Because as long as you're alive, it's just never too late. I mean, I'm 48 years old. I don't know why I do that dumb voice. I'm really sorry. So how did I transform from epic fuck up into semi fuck up that's here? I have no idea, but I'm going to tell you some of my secrets. Shh, don't tell anybody these secrets, okay? I had a sponsor who told me, you don't have to be a good person, you just have to act like one. Nobody knows the difference. And that's the truth. You're being judged on your actions. You're not being judged on your intentions. No one cares about your intentions. And so I used to be very about my truth. And so I started to act like the person I wanted to be, no matter how I felt. And if you do that over and over and over again, you actually create a new neural pathway in your brain, and that becomes the new default, and that becomes you. It's neuroscience. Not just pretty, but smart, too. My father said to me like 20 years ago, he goes, stability doesn't create discipline, discipline creates stability. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. What that means is that a structured, routine life will make you feel stable inside. If you're waiting to feel okay before you go to the gym, keep that appointment, write that book, get sober, you're waiting forever. But if you do it, you take the action, it changes the feelings. I'm so thrilled to be here tonight at SHE Recovers. We have so many groundbreakers in the audience and on stage. Tarana Burke, who founded the Me Too movement, to speak up against sexual violence. Mackenzie Phillips, the actress who wrote an extremely brave memoir, High on Arrival, and been very, very vocal about her recovery. And Lori Dew, the TV journalist, who's been a recovery activist, as well as a voice against sexual harassment. Susan Ford Bales, whose mother, Betty Ford, was the first lady to speak openly about her alcoholism and battle with breast cancer. I'm hoping I didn't offend her too much, because I'm sure she has some ties to the government. She could have me sent to Cuba or something like that. So, you know, if I get pulled off by security, that's what happened. Hi, Susan. I have no idea what I'm doing up here. Someone told me that my book, My Fair Junkie, was groundbreaking in its humor and its insight and its rawness, and thank you, but I still don't know what I'm doing here. Humor, let's talk about that for a moment. Don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. For real. Tragedy plus time equals comedy. And it's like, if you can laugh at it at the time, all the better. Like, the way if I couldn't have laughed at some of that stuff, I couldn't have gotten through it, for real. Like, find the humor in it and just move on. I've heard some people say that I was unlikable in my book. Especially in the beginning. You know, to that I say, you know, if you're likable when you're mentally ill and on drugs, like, why get sober? Right? It's like, if you're trying to look good in an addiction memoir, you're not being honest enough. You know, readers have written to me, and they're like, you know, that my book has given them hope, which is great. You know, to turn 20 years of hell and self-destruction into a tool that's given people hope is a dream. You know. I haven't had a date since the book was published, but I'm an old cat lady, and that's fine. But I've given strangers hope, so who cares, right? If I ever get laid again, it's fine. You know. I've also, people written to me and like, thank you, just thank you for keeping it real, you know? Thank you for making me feel less broken and less alone. And what I heard was, wow, you were bad, you know? So I now have 5.5 years sober. I guess I'm a speaker now, I guess. I'm a published author, I'm a columnist, and I'm a proud recovering addict. Getting sober was the hardest thing I ever did, over and over and over again. And somehow I went from pariah to example to inspiration, and so can all of you. I'm not special. Back when I celebrated 3 years for the 14th time, I asked my father if he was ashamed of me when he spoke to his friends. And he said, my friends wish they had a kid as unbreakable as you. So remember, that's what you all are, unbreakable. Thank you.